My daughter-in-law said I was no longer family. She did not shout it. She did not cry. She said it the way you might say, pass the salt. Flat. Cold. Final. We were sitting at the dining table. The same table where I had taught my son to tie his shoes. The same table where my wife had served Thanksgiving dinner for 30 years. She looked at me across that table and she said, "Frank, you need to understand. You are not part of this family anymore. I am Frank. I am 72 years old. I am a widower. I am a retired schoolteacher. I am a father of one son. And on that day, I became a stranger in my own home. I did not argue. I did not raise my voice. I looked at my son, Michael. He was staring at his plate. He was pushing green beans around with his fork. He could not look at me. He could not say a word. He just sat there. Silent. Small. Like a boy who had been caught doing something wrong. I looked at my grandchildren. Emma, who was 8. Little Jake, who was 5. They did not understand what was happening. They just knew that Grandpa was not coming to dinner anymore. They just knew that something was broken. Something they could not see but could feel. Like a crack in a window. Small. But growing. I stood up. I pushed my chair in. I walked to the front door. I put on my old jacket. The brown one with the torn pocket. My wife, Sarah, had always told me to throw that jacket away. I never did. It was the last thing she bought me before she got sick. As I opened the door, the cold air hit my face. It was November. The leaves were gone. The trees were bare. Everything looked dead. Everything felt dead. My son finally looked up. He said, "Dad, I'm sorry." I said, "I know, son. Me too." Then I walked out. I did not slam the door. I closed it softly. Like I was leaving a hotel room. Like none of it had ever mattered. Like 30 years of helping with homework, coaching Little League, paying for college, co-signing loans, babysitting grandchildren, like none of it had ever happened. That was 8 months ago. I am telling you this story not because I want pity. Not because I want revenge. I am telling you this story because somewhere out there is another father. Another grandfather. Another man who gave everything he had to his family, only to be told one day that he no longer belongs. And that man needs to know that he is not alone. That his silence is heard. That his pain is real. And that he can survive this. Let me take you back. Not to the day I left. But to the beginning. To the life I thought would last forever. I met Sarah in 1972. I was 23. She was 21. She worked at the public library. I was a substitute teacher at the high school. I used to go to the library after work to grade papers. She would be at the front desk, stamping books. She had long brown hair and glasses that were too big for her face. She was beautiful. Not the kind of beautiful you see in magazines. The kind of beautiful you see in someone who is kind. Someone who listens. Someone who laughs at your stupid jokes even when they are not funny. I asked her out 3 times before she said yes. She said I was too serious. She said I needed to learn how to have fun. On our first date, I took her to a diner. We shared a milkshake. 2 straws. She told me she wanted to travel the world. I told her I wanted to teach history. She said I should teach something happier. I said history is important. She said history is sad. I said that is why we need to remember it. We got married a year later. Small ceremony. Her father cried. My mother cried. Sarah cried the most. Happy tears. She said, "Frank, promise me we will always be a family. No matter what." I promised. We bought our first house in 1975. It was small. 2 bedrooms. 1 bathroom. A kitchen you could barely turn around in. But it had a backyard. A small one. Just enough for a grill and a few chairs. Sarah planted roses along the fence. I built a birdhouse. We painted. The front door red. Red for welcome. Red for love. Red for home. Michael was born in 1977. I held him in the delivery room. He was so small. So fragile. His fingers curled around mine. I cried. I never cried as an adult. But that day, I cried. I looked at Sarah. She was exhausted. She was glowing. She said, "We made a person, Frank. A whole person." I said, "We did good." She laughed. She said, "We did okay. Let's see if we can keep him alive." We did. We kept him alive. We raised him. We loved him. We made mistakes. Every parent does. I worked 2 jobs sometimes. Teaching during the day. Tutoring at night. Sarah worked part-time at a bookstore. We did not have much money. But we had each other. And we had him. That was enough. Michael grew up fast. They all do. One day he is learning to ride a bike. The next day he is asking for the car keys. Time moves differently when you are a parent. The days are long. But the years are short. I coached his little league team. He was not the best player. He was not the worst. He was the one who always remembered to bring snacks. He was the one who helped the other kids tie their cleats. He had a good heart. A kind heart. Sarah said he got it from me. I said he got it from her. We both took credit. That is what parents do. When he was 16, he crashed the car. Our only car. He was not hurt. Just scared. But the car was totaled. I did not yell at him. I remembered being 16. I remembered making mistakes. I put my hand on his shoulder. I said, "You are okay. That is all that matters. We will figure out the rest." He cried. He said, "I'm sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry." I said, "I forgive you. Now let's go see if we can find another junker on Craigslist." We found one. A 1992 Ford Taurus. Beige. Ugly. But it ran. He drove that car through high school and college. He called it the Beast. He loved that car. When he finally bought his own new car, he could not sell the Beast. He kept it in the driveway for 2 more years. Just because he could not let it go. That is my son. Loyal to a fault. Even to a beige Ford Taurus. Sarah got sick when Michael was 22. Just out of college. Just starting his first real job. She found a lump. She waited 3 months to tell me. She did not want to worry me. That was Sarah. Always protecting everyone else. Never protecting herself. The doctors said it was cancer. The bad kind. The kind that does not go away. We fought. For 2 years, we fought. Chemotherapy. Radiation. Good days. Bad days. Days when she laughed. Days when she could not get out of bed. I slept on a plastic chair next to her hospital bed. I held her hand. I read to her. Old books. The ones she loved when we were young. She died on a Tuesday. In the morning. The sun was coming through the window. She looked at me. She squeezed my hand. She said, "Frank, promise me you will not be alone. Promise me you will let Michael take care of you." I said, "I promise." She closed her eyes. And she was gone. I was 64 when Sarah died. Too young to be a widower. Too old to start over. I did not know who I was without her. For 40 years, I was Frank and Sarah. We were a pair. Like salt and pepper. Like coffee and cream. Now I was just Frank. And Frank did not know how to be alone. Michael stepped in. Just like Sarah asked. He came over every day after work. He brought dinner. He sat with me. He watched football games I did not care about. He asked about my day. He made sure I was eating. He made sure I was taking my medication. He made sure I was still living. Not just existing. Then he met Vanessa. Vanessa worked at his office. Marketing. She was younger than him. 28. Michael was 32. She was sharp. Ambitious. Beautiful. She wore expensive shoes and talked fast. She reminded me of a hummingbird. Always moving. Always buzzing. Never still. I met her for the first time at a diner. The same diner where I had taken Sarah on our first date. Michael wanted me to meet her somewhere neutral. He was nervous. I could tell. He kept tapping his fingers on the table. Just like when he was a boy. Vanessa arrived 10 minutes late. She walked in like she owned the place. She sat down. She said, "So you're Frank. Michael talks about you all the time." I said, "All good things, I hope." She smiled. But her eyes did not smile. They looked past me. Through me. Like I was a piece of furniture she had to walk around. She ordered a salad. No dressing. A glass of water. No ice. She did not eat the salad. She just moved it around the plate. She talked about her career. Her goals. Her 5-year plan. She did not ask me one question about myself. Not one. After she left, Michael said, "So? What do you think?" I said, "She seems very driven." He said, "That's a good thing, Dad. She knows what she wants." I said, "Does she want a family? Does she want children?" He said, "Eventually. When the timing is right." I did not say what I was thinking. I did not say, "Son, life does not care about your timing." I did not say, "Love is not a 5-year plan." I did not say, "I have a bad feeling about this." I said, "If she makes you happy, I am happy for you." He smiled. He looked relieved. He said, "Thanks, Dad. That means everything." They got married 6 months later. Big wedding. Expensive. Vanessa wanted everything perfect. The venue. The flowers. The cake. The music. She wanted a harpist. A harpist. At a wedding in a community center in New Jersey. Michael paid for most of it. He took out a loan. A loan. For a wedding. I offered to help. I had some savings. Not much. But enough to cover the flowers or the catering. Vanessa said, "No thank you, Frank. We want to do this ourselves. Our way." She called me Frank. Not Dad. Not even Mr. Johnson. Frank. Like I was a coworker. Like I was someone she had just met at. The wedding, I sat at the parents' table. Alone. Sarah's chair was empty that I put a white rose on her plate. A tradition. Something the old folks do. Vanessa saw it. She whispered something to Michael. Michael came over. He said, "Dad, Vanessa thinks the rose is a little morbid. She says it's bringing down the mood." I said, "It's just a rose, son." He said, "I know. But it's her day, you know. Maybe just, take it away." I took the rose. I put it in my pocket. I sat through the reception. I smiled for the photos. I clapped when they cut the cake. I danced one dance. By myself. Slow. Eyes closed. Pretending Sarah was in my arms. After the wedding, Michael and Vanessa bought a house. A big house. 4 bedrooms. A 2-car garage. A backyard with a pool. Vanessa wanted a new house. Not a fixer-upper. Not something with character. Something clean. Something new. Something that had no history but her own. Michael said, "Dad, you should sell your house and move in with us. There's plenty of room. It makes sense. You're getting older. We can take care of you." I said, "I don't need taking care of, son. I'm fine." He said, "I know. But we want you there. Vanessa wants you there." I did not believe him. But I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe that my son wanted me close. I wanted to believe that my daughter-in-law saw me as family. I wanted to believe that I was not going to spend my last years alone in a house full of memories. So I sold the house. The house where Michael learned to walk. The house where Sarah planted roses. The house with the red front door. I sold it to a young couple with 2 small children. They painted the door gray. Gray. No more welcome. I moved into Michael and Vanessa's house. I took my rocking chair. I took my photo albums. I took Sarah's urn. I took the birdhouse I had built 40 years ago. I left everything else. Everything that mattered. I left it all behind. They gave me the smallest bedroom. The one at the end of the hallway. The one with the window that faced the fence. No view. No light. Just a wooden fence and the neighbor's trash cans. I did not complain. I was grateful to have a roof over my head. The first few weeks were okay. Vanessa was polite. Distant. But polite. She said, "Good morning," and "Good night." She asked if I needed anything. She made sure there was food in the refrigerator. She treated me like a guest. A guest who had overstayed their welcome. But I was not a guest. I was her father-in-law. I was the man who had raised her husband. I was the man who had paid for his braces, his baseball gloves, his college tuition. I was not a guest. I was family. Or at least, I thought I was. The small things started right away. I wake up early. I have always woken up early. 6 in the morning. Every day. Even on weekends. Old habit. I would make coffee. I would sit in the kitchen. I would read the newspaper. The paper kind. Not on a phone. I liked the feel of newsprint on my fingers. Vanessa did not like this. She said, "Frank, you make too much noise in the morning. The coffee maker is loud. The newspaper pages are loud. I cannot sleep." I said, "I am sorry. I will try to be quieter." I started making coffee the night before. Cold brew. She did not like that either. She said it took up too much space in the refrigerator. I stopped drinking coffee. I started drinking hot water. Hot water does not make noise. Hot water does not take up space. Hot water is invisible. Just like I was becoming. Then it was the television that I liked to watch the evening news. Walter Cronkite days. I am old school. I want to know what is happening in the world. So at 6 o'clock every evening, I would turn on the small television in my room. Not loud. Just loud enough to hear. Vanessa knocked on my door one night. She said, "Frank, we can hear your TV in the living room. Michael is trying to work. I am trying to relax. Can you please use headphones?" I did not have headphones. I did not know how. To use headphones. The last time I used headphones was in 1985. They were big and bulky and plugged into a stereo. Now everything is wireless. Now everything is Bluetooth. I do not understand Bluetooth. I said, I will just turn it off. She said, thank you. I appreciate it. I turned off the television. I sat in silence. I listened to the house. The furnace kicking on. The refrigerator humming. Michael and Vanessa talking in their bedroom. They were not talking about me. But I knew they were. I could feel it. The way you feel a storm coming in your bones. Emma was born 2 years into their marriage. Then Jake, 3 years after that. 2 beautiful children. My grandchildren. My heart. When Emma was born, I was in the waiting room for 12 hours. Vanessa's parents were there too. Her mother, Carol, was a nice woman. Quiet. Kind. She reminded me of Sarah. She held my hand. She said, "You must be so excited, Frank." I said, "I am. I have been waiting for this my whole life." When the nurse finally came out and said, "It's a girl," I cried. Right there in the waiting room. In front of everyone. Carol hugged me. She said, "Congratulations, Grandpa." Grandpa. That word. I had waited 67 years to hear someone call me that. I wanted to be a good grandfather. The kind who teaches you how to fish. The kind who lets you eat ice cream for breakfast. The kind who tells stories about the old days even when the children roll their eyes. I wanted to be present. I wanted to be remembered. But Vanessa had different ideas. She did not want me to babysit. She said I was too old. 70 is too old to watch a baby. I watched Michael. I never dropped him. I never lost him. I kept him alive for 18 years. But I was too old to watch my own grandchild for 2 hours. She did not want me to feed Emma. She said I did not know the right way to warm a bottle. I warmed bottles for Michael. I tested the temperature on my wrist. Like every parent in the history of the world. But that was not the right way. Her way was the right way. She did not want me to take Emma to the park. She said I might lose focus. I am a retired teacher. I spent 40 years watching 30 children at a time. I never lost one. Not one. But I might lose focus with my own granddaughter. I stopped offering. It was easier. It was less painful. I would just watch from a distance. Through the window. Through the glass door. Watching Emma take her first steps. Watching Jake learn to ride a tricycle. Watching from the other side of the glass. Like I was at a zoo. Like I was watching someone else's life. The exclusion happened slowly. So slowly that at first, I did not notice. Or maybe I did notice, but I told myself I was imagining it. Thanksgiving, year 1. Vanessa's parents came. Carol and Robert. Nice people. We sat around the table. We ate turkey. We talked about the children. We talked about the weather. It was fine. Normal. I was included. Thanksgiving, year 2. Vanessa's parents came again. Same table. Same food. But this time, I was seated at the end. Not the head. The end. The chair that wobbles. The one where you have to reach across the table for everything. Carol noticed. She tried to switch seats with me. Vanessa said, "Mom, just sit where you are. It's fine." I said, "It's fine, Carol. I don't mind." I did mind. But I did not say anything. Christmas, year 3. The family exchanged gifts. Everyone got something. Emma got a dollhouse. Jake got a fire truck. Michael got a new watch. Vanessa got diamond earrings. Carol and Robert got a weekend getaway. I sat on the couch. I watched. No one gave me anything. Not even a card. I did not want a gift. I wanted to be seen. I wanted someone to look at me and say, "Frank, we are glad you are here." But no one did. I was invisible. Sitting on the couch. Invisible. Michael's birthday, year 4. Vanessa threw a party. Big party. Catered. About 30 people. Friends from work. Neighbors. Vanessa. Family. I was not invited. I heard them planning it. I heard the guest list. My name was not on it. I waited. Maybe they forgot to write it down. Maybe they were going to tell me later. The day of the party came. People arrived. Music started. Laughter. Glasses clinking. I stayed in my room. I sat on my bed. I looked at Sarah's urn. I said, "I am sorry. I am so sorry." No one knocked on my door. No one asked where I was. The party ended. Everyone left. Michael came to my room at midnight. He smelled like wine. His eyes were red. He said, "Dad, I am sorry. Vanessa said she thought you would be uncomfortable with so many people." I said, "She did not ask me, son." He said, "I know. I am sorry." I said, "You keep saying that." He had no answer. He just stood there. Then he left. He closed the door. And I was alone again 8 months ago. Vanessa asked me to sit down. Just her and me. No Michael. No children. She said she wanted to talk. We sat at the dining table. The same table where I had taught Michael to tie his shoes. The same table where Sarah had served Thanksgiving dinner. Vanessa sat across from me. She folded her hands. She took a breath. She said, "Frank, we need to talk about your living situation." I said, "Okay." She said, "This is not easy for me to say. I want you to know that I care about you. But Michael and I need space. We need to focus on our marriage. We need to focus on the children. And having you here, it is not working. It is not working." 4 words. 4 words that undid everything. Every meal I had cooked. Every dollar I had saved. Every night I had spent alone so they could have their privacy. Every time I had swallowed my feelings and said, "It's fine," when it was not fine. None of it mattered. It was not working that I said, "Where am I supposed to go?" She said, "There are places. Senior communities. Apartments. Michael can help you find something." I said, "This is my son's house. He asked me to live here. He asked me." She said, "I know. But things change. Families change. You have to understand that you are not the head of this family anymore. You are not part of it, Frank. Not really. You are just here. And I cannot do it anymore. You are not part of this family." I looked at her. I looked for any sign of guilt. Any sign of regret. Any sign that this was hard for her. I saw nothing. Her face was calm. Her eyes were steady. She had been planning this. Practicing this. This was not an argument. This was a presentation. She had already made her decision. She was just informing me. I said, "Does Michael know you are saying this?" She said, "Michael knows how I feel. He just does not know how to say it." I nodded. I stood up. I said, "I will be out by the end of the week." She said, "That would be best." I packed light. I always have. When you have lost as much as I have, you learn not to hold on to things. Things break. Things get left behind. Things get sold to young couples who paint the front door gray. The only thing that matters is what you carry in your heart. I took my clothes. Not many. Just enough. I took my photo albums. All of them. The ones from my wedding. The ones from Michael's childhood. The ones from Sarah's last good days. I took her urn. I took the birdhouse. I took my father's watch. I took my mother's rosary. I left everything else. The rocking chair. The good dishes. The copper pot that had been in Sarah's family for 3 generations. I could not carry them. And no one asked me to stay. On my last morning, I woke up early. I made coffee. One last time. I sat in the kitchen. I read the newspaper. The pages were loud. I did not care. Let them hear. Let them know I was here. Let them remember that for 4 years, I existed in this house. That I was not a ghost. That I was a man. A father. A grandfather. Someone who mattered. Michael came down at 7. He was wearing his work clothes. He looked tired. He looked sad. He looked like a little boy who had fallen off his bike and scraped his knee. He said, "Dad, I am going to drive you to the apartment. I found one. It is small. But it is nice." I said, "I do not need you to drive me, son. I can drive myself." He said, "I want to." I looked at him. Really looked at him. He had my eyes. Sarah's smile. He was a good man. A weak man. But a good man. He had made a choice. The wrong choice. But he had made it. And now he had to live with it. Just like me. I said, "Okay. One last ride with my boy." He almost cried. He did not. But he almost did that. We did not talk on the drive. There was nothing left to say. I had said everything over the years. Through actions. Through sacrifices. Through silent nights in my small room. He had heard me. He just did not listen. The apartment was in a building on the other side of town. Old building. 3 floors. No elevator. My apartment was on the 2nd floor. 1 bedroom. 1 bathroom. A kitchen the size of a closet. A living room with a window that faced a parking lot. It was small. It was cold. It was mine. Michael carried my boxes up the stairs. 2 trips. He was out of breath. I am 72. I was fine. Funny how that works. The old man is fine. The young man is tired. He put the last box on the floor. He stood in the middle of the living room. He looked around. He said, "Dad, I am sorry. I am so sorry." I said, "You already said that." He said, "I mean it." I said, "I know you do. But sorry does not change anything. Sorry does not give me back 4 years. Sorry does not put me back at the dinner table. Sorry does not make your wife see me as family." He started crying. Real tears. The kind that shake your shoulders and make your voice crack. He said, "What do you want me to say, Dad? What do you want me to do?" I walked over to him. I put my hand on his shoulder. The same hand I had put on his shoulder when he was 16 and crashed the car. The same hand I had put on his shoulder when Sarah died. The same hand that had held him when he was a baby. I said, "I want you to be a better man than this. I want you to remember that family is not just the people you choose. It is the people who chose you. I chose you, Michael. The day you were born, I chose you. And I have kept choosing you every single day for 45 years. Do not forget that." He hugged me. He hugged me like he did when he was a boy. He held on. He did not want to let go. But he did. He always does. He left. He walked down the stairs. He got in his car. He drove away. I watched from the window. The window that faced the parking lot. I watched his car get smaller and smaller until it disappeared around the corner. Then I sat down on the floor. In the middle of the empty apartment. Surrounded by boxes. Surrounded by memories. Surrounded by silence. I did not cry. I was too tired to cry. I just sat there. For a long time, the first month was the hardest. I did not know how to be alone. For 45 years, I had someone. First Sarah. Then Michael. Even in Vanessa's house, there were people. Noise. Arguments. Laughter. Crying. There was life. Now there was just me. And the silence. The silence was loud. Louder than I expected. It had a weight. A presence. It followed me from room to room. It sat across from me at the table. It lay down next to me in bed. The silence was my new roommate. And it never left. I stopped cooking. What was the point? One person does not need a pot of spaghetti. One person does not need a casserole. I ate sandwiches. Cold sandwiches. Bread. Meat. Cheese. No mustard. No lettuce. Just fuel. Just enough to keep the engine running. I stopped going outside. The apartment was on the second floor. No elevator. The stairs hurt my knees. The cold hurt my bones. The world outside did not need me. So I stay. Inside. I watched daytime television. Game shows. Soap operas. Infomercials. Things I had never watched before. Things that meant nothing. But they filled the silence. They filled the hours. I called Michael once. On the third week. He answered on the fourth ring. He sounded busy. He said, "Hey, Dad. Everything okay?" I said, "Everything is fine. I just wanted to hear your voice." He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "I will come visit. Soon. I promise." I said, "Okay, son." He did not come. Not that week. Not the next week. Not the week after. Promises. They are easy to make. Hard to keep. After 2 months, I realized something. I realized that if I did not do something, I was going to die in that apartment. Not from sickness. From loneliness. Loneliness can kill you. Slowly. Quietly. But it can kill you. I found a community center. 3 blocks away. I walked there. Slowly. 1 step at a time. My knees hurt. My back hurt. But I kept walking. I walked because the alternative was worse. The alternative was sitting in my apartment, waiting to die. The community center was warm. Bright. There were other old people there. Women with white hair. Men with canes. People my age. People who understood. People who had also been left behind. By their children. By their spouses. By life. I met a man named George. He was 80. He had been a plumber. He had outlived his wife and his only daughter. He lived alone. Just like me. He played chess. Terribly. But he played. He said, "Frank, you cannot sit in that apartment every day. You will go crazy. Come play chess with me. I need someone to beat." I said, "You are not going to beat me, George. I am a terrible chess player." He said, "Perfect. We can both be terrible together." I laughed. The first real laugh in months. It hurt. My stomach hurt from laughing. I had forgotten what it felt like that I met a woman named Dolores. She was 75. A retired nurse. Her husband had died 5 years ago. Her son lived in California. He called once a month. She said, I used to be angry at him. Now I am just tired. Tired of waiting for a phone call that never comes. I said, I know that tired. She said, we are a club no one wants to join. The Forgotten Parents Club. She was right. We were forgotten. Left behind. Replaced by daughters-in-law and careers and new families. But we had each other. That was something. That was not nothing. Michael called on a Sunday afternoon. I had not heard from him in 3 weeks. I let it ring. I thought about not answering. I thought about letting him feel what it felt like to be ignored. To be invisible. To be the one who calls and gets silence. But I am his father. And a father does not punish his son. No matter how much the son deserves it. I answered. I said, hello, Michael. He said, Dad. How are you? I said, I am okay. How are you? He said, I am. I am struggling, Dad. Things with Vanessa are not good. She is talking about leaving. She says I am not the man she married. She says I have changed. I said, have you? He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, I do not know. Maybe. I feel different. I feel empty. Like something is missing. Like I made a choice I cannot take back. I said, you did make a choice, son. You chose her over me. And now you have to live with that choice. Just like I do. He started crying. I could hear it in his breathing. The same breathing I had heard when he was a baby, crying in his crib. The same breathing I had heard when he was 10 years old, crying because the neighbor kids were mean to him. My son. My boy. Crying. Again. He said, Dad, I want to come see you. I want to fix this. I do not know how. But I want to try. I said, you are always welcome, Michael. That has never changed. I am your father. You are my son. That is not conditional. It is not a contract. It is just what it is. He said, I will come this weekend. I promise. I said, okay, son. I will make coffee. He came. He came on Saturday morning. He brought donuts. My favorite. The ones with the sprinkles. He remembered. After everything. He remembered that we sat at my small kitchen table. The one that wobbles. The one that came with the apartment. I poured coffee. 2 cups. Black. Just how we both like it. He brought donuts. Sprinkles. Like when he was a boy. He said, Dad, I have been thinking a lot about everything. About what happened. About how I let Vanessa push you out. About how I sat there at the table and said nothing. I have been trying to understand why I did that. Why I was so weak. I said, you were not weak, Michael. You were scared. There is a difference. He said, scared of what? I said, scared of losing her. Scared of being alone. Scared of making the wrong choice. So you made the easy choice. The choice that kept the peace. The choice that did not cause a fight. You chose the path of least resistance. Most people do. It is not weakness. It is just human. He wiped his eyes. He said, but I lost you, Dad. I lost you. And I did not even realize it until you were gone. Until I walked into your empty room. Until I saw the bare walls and the empty closet. That is when I understood. That is when I felt it. The weight of what I had done. I said, "You did not lose me, son. I am right here. I have always been right here. You just stopped looking." He cried again. He cried like a child. I let him. I did not try to fix it. I did not try to make it better. Sometimes, crying is the only way to heal. The tears wash out the poison. The poison of regret. The poison of guilt. The poison of choices you cannot undo. He said, "Vanessa wants a divorce." I was not surprised. I had seen it coming. From the first day I met her. From the way she looked past me. From the way she spoke about her 5-year plan. Vanessa was not a woman who stayed. She was a woman who collected houses, cars, experiences, people. And when she was done collecting, she moved on. I said, "How do you feel about that?" He said, "Sad. Relieved. Guilty. All of it. Mostly, I feel sad for the kids. Emma and Jake. They do not understand. They keep asking why I am not coming home. Why mommy is crying. Why grandpa is not around anymore. I do not know what to tell them." I said, "Tell them the truth. The simple truth. Tell them that grown-ups make mistakes. That love is hard. That families change. But that grandpa loves them. And that will never change." He looked at me. He said, "Will you help me tell them? Will you come with me? They miss you. They ask about you all the time." I said, "Of course, son. I am their grandfather. That is not a title. It is a promise that I saw Emma and Jake the next weekend. Michael picked me up. We drove to a park. A neutral place. Not his house. Not my apartment. Somewhere new. Somewhere without memories. Somewhere we could make new ones. Emma ran toward me first. She was 9 now. Tall. Long hair. She looked like Sarah. The same smile. The same light in her eyes. She tackled me. Almost knocked me off the bench. She said, "Grandpa. I missed you so much. Where have you been?" I said, "I have been right here, sweetheart. Waiting for you." She hugged me. Hugged me tight. She did not let go. Not for a long time. Jake was shy. He was 6. He stood behind Emma. He looked at me like I was a stranger. He said, "Grandpa, why is your hair so white now?" I laughed. I said, "Because I am old, buddy. Old people have white hair." He said, "My hair is not white." I said, "Not yet. Give it time." He smiled. A small smile. Then he ran toward me. He jumped into my arms. I held him. Both of them. My grandchildren. My heart. I held them and I did not let go. I held them and I prayed that I would never have to let go again. We played on the swings. We chased each other around the trees. We ate ice cream. Even though it was cold outside. Ice cream does not care about the weather. Neither do grandchildren. They just want to be with you. They just want to know that you are there. That you are not going anywhere. Michael watched from the bench. He was smiling. A real smile. The kind I had not seen on his face in years. He said, "Dad, thank you." I said, "For what?" He said, "For still being here. For not giving up on me. For being the father I did not deserve." I sat down next to him. I put my hand on his shoulder. I said, "You deserve everything, son. You are my boy. You always will be. Things are different now. Not perfect. But different. Michael is going through the divorce. It is messy. It is painful. Vanessa is fighting for the house. For custody. For everything. She is a fighter. That is what she does. She fights. She wins. She moves on. But Michael is fighting back. Not for the house. Not for the money. For the children. For the right to be their father. For the right to raise them. To teach them. To be present. He is becoming the man I always knew he could be. It took losing everything to find himself. But he found himself. I see Emma and Jake every weekend. Sometimes more. They come to my apartment. They sleep on the floor in sleeping bags. We make popcorn. We watch old movies. The black and white ones. The ones I watched when I was a boy. They do not understand half of what is happening. But they love the music. They love the dancing. They love being with Grandpa. I told them about Sarah. About their grandmother. The grandmother they never met. I showed them photos. I told them stories. How she laughed. How she danced in the kitchen. How she sang off-key but never cared. How she loved me. How she loved their father. How she would have loved them. Emma said, "Grandma sounds like an angel." I said, "She is, sweetheart. She is watching us right now. She is smiling." Emma said, "Can I have her picture? To keep in my room?" I gave her one. The one. From our wedding. Sarah was 21. She was wearing a white dress. She was smiling. She was happy. That picture now sits on Emma's nightstand. Right next to her bed. So she can see her grandmother's face every night before she falls asleep. That is something. That is not nothing. So here I am. 72 years old. Living in a small apartment with a view of a parking lot. My son is getting divorced. My daughter-in-law said I was no longer family. My grandchildren sleep on my floor in sleeping bags. My wife is gone. My old house is gone. The red front door is now gray. Some people would look at my life and say, how sad. How lonely. How unfair. And they would be right. It is sad. It is lonely. It is unfair. But that is not the whole story. The whole story is this: I am still here. I am still a father. I am still a grandfather. I am still a man who loves. A man who forgives. A man who chooses hope over bitterness. Even when hope is hard. Even when hope hurts. I have learned something in this small apartment. Something I want to share with you. Especially if you are a father. A grandfather. A man who has been told that you no longer belong. Here it is. Family is not a place. It is not a house. It is not a dinner table or a Thanksgiving turkey or a red front door. Family is a choice. A choice you make every single day. A choice to love. A choice to forgive. A choice to keep showing up. Even when the door is closed. Even when the table is full. Even when they say you do not belong. You belong. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise. My daughter-in-law said I was no longer family. But she was wrong. Because family is not hers to give. And it is not hers to take away. Family is mine. It lives inside me. It is the love I have for my son. For my grandchildren. For the wife I lost. For the life I built. No one can take that from me. Not Vanessa. Not anyone. So if you are listening to this, and you have been pushed aside, forgotten, replaced. I want you to do. I want you to stand up. Right now. Wherever you are. I want you to look in the mirror. I want you to look at your own face. I want you to see the wrinkles. The gray hair. The tired eyes. And I want you to say these words out loud. I am still here. I still matter. I am still family. Say it until you believe it. Because it is true. It has always been true. And no one can take that away from you. That I still talk to Sarah. Every night. Before I go to sleep. I look at her photo. I tell her about my day. I tell her about Michael. About Emma and Jake. About the birdhouse on the balcony. About the plant that will not stop growing no matter how many times I forget to water it. I think she can hear me. I think she is listening. I think she is proud of me. Not because I did everything right. I did not. But because I did not give up. Because I kept loving. Because I kept choosing family. That is all any of us can do. Keep choosing. Keep loving. Keep showing up. Even when it is hard. Especially when it is hard. I am Frank. I am 72 years old. My daughter-in-law said I was no longer family. But I am still here. I am still a father. I am still a grandfather. I am still loved. And I am still loving. That is my story. Thank you for listening.